Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Containeroz podcast. The Containeroz podcast is sponsored by PortPro, the leading operating system for drayage carriers. Schedule a demo today at portpro.io, and don't forget to mention Containeroz for 10% off. Today in the studio, I have Genesisuribee. Did I pronounce it right?
Oh, yes, perfect.
Yes.
Good
How
morning.
are you? Good morning, yes.
I'm doing great. I am blessed. I want to say thank you for this opportunity and for providing a platform for people in the community. So I'm very
No
happy
problem.
and blessed to be here. Thank you for having me.
My
How are
pleasure.
you doing today?
I'm good. We're out here hustling on a Sunday.
That's right.
Putting in work.
No days off.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to make it out here, We got goals.
Exactly.
And that aligns perfectly with our topic today.
It does.
So, tell us a little about yourself.
My name is Genesisuribee, born and raised in Los Angeles, Soy mexicana. My dad's from Jalisco. My mom's from Michoacan. To be specific, I grew up in Carson, right? I have background in, obviously, the logistics, right? I grew up in the logistics industry. My dad's been a truck driver my whole life, probably going on to almost 30 years now driving on the road. I went to school in Humboldt State University, so Northern California. I've done a little bit of a lot of stuff, I've even dabbled into, I was a middle school teacher my senior year of college.
Wow.
That was really fun, yeah. I went all out with Spanish, so I actually studied abroad in Spain for a whole summer as well. Went a little bit into core interpreting. And of course the logistics, right?
Wow.
And then now dabbling into starting my own business in the financial industry.
Impressive resume.
A whole mouthful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, just.
And they say you shouldn't ask women their age, but how young are you?
Oh, that's perfectly fine. I'm 25.
That's a lot of, what do you call it? Accomplishments.
Thank you.
To check off the bucket list.
I appreciate that.
And along the way, you're just trying to find what'll be your thing, or that's just you trying things out, or what?
Yeah, I feel like I've always known. I don't want it to say it sounds cliche, but I've always known little. I was meant for bigger things. I was meant. People always tell me, "Oh, Jenny, hablas hasta por los codos," and I'm like, I know. I love to talk. I love this. I'm so happy to be here, and I always wanted to find an outlet or platform where I could make a living, connect to people, change people's lives by doing what I like to do, right? So I do think you're right. I've been trying to figure out what it is exactly that fits my personality and my persona. So I do think I've been dabbling a little bit in different industries to see what I like best. And I'm blessed to say that I'm probably the happiest I've ever been, and I have the best relationship with everyone in my life right now, and I think everything is perfect. So I feel very blessed. This new year, right? We're ending the year here, so I'm happy that we get to discuss a lot of things here today.
I'm glad you bring in those good vibes on the podcast.
Yeah, sorry, not ending the year, ending the first month of the year, right?
Yes.
So
I didn't want to, I don't want no problems. Like,
no, you're
whatever
good.
you say. We're ending the year, guys. So let's see. I'm going through my notes here.
You're good.
Eventually, I'm gonna be a master. I'll be like, But
exactly.
I see you're prepared too.
Man, I love taking notes.
Yeah,
I do.
Okay, in every day, or just in interactions.
Oh yeah, man. Look, for everyone listening and seeing this, I had this realization one time. So I graduated college, and I was, starting my, real world, you can say. And I remember finding myself scattering throughout the day. What do I have to do? And then one time someone very wise told me, stop relying on your brain to remember the things you have to. There's already a million things you're thinking of. Write it down. Write it down. And then it came to my mind. Since elementary, we would get organizers and notebooks. In middle school, in high school, in college, I've had an agenda my whole life. Why, out of the nowhere, just because I'm not in school no more, do I think I don't need to have an agenda? And when that kind of clicked, I was like, and now I have 5, one for work, one for journaling, random notes, quotes, things people tell me. It's this notebook right here. So I brought this with me, right? So I'm a firm believer in writing it down, journal. I think it's very important.
I started journaling recently. I used to think it was kind of like corny or like men don't journal, kind of. I don't know, not manly.
The stereotypes behind
Yeah,
it,
huh?
you know.
But it's okay, and sometimes you look back and it's surprising what like oh shit, I'm living this right now. What I wrote a couple months ago, like what the fuck?
That's honestly what I live for. I
And
love going back and reading.
yeah,
I love going back and reading. And I'm congratulations on starting that, you know.
yeah.
That's you being aware of your own thoughts.
Well, I gotta give credit to Tam from Sydney, Australia. One time I was on a clubhouse, what do they call it, rooms or chat, what do they call it? And she just spoke to me and introduced me to that a little more. I had heard about it a while back.
Yeah.
I know this sounds kind of like corny to other people that are not like into that stuff,
Right.
but I think you gotta live through it and then be like, oh shit, I guess it's real, you know?
Exactly.
So ever since then, like she introduced me to that, and I try to. I'm open minded now, cause there's some shit that happens that you can't explain. So why can't that be real as well?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like frequencies and all this.
Oh yeah.
You know.
You know.
But, anyways, so yeah, so I got myself a little thing too.
Okay. Powerless. Ooh, I like that.
Just the 5 things of the day, the top 5.
Wow.
And whatever you don't, I just highlight it so it can annoy me and I can do it.
Okay, I like that. Keeping yourself accountable.
Yeah,
that's
man,
very important.
When you don't cross out the day, you feel like a weight on you. Like, man, I'm slacking. Yep. So the next day you overkill. Like
exactly. I have a checkoff list too. So for anyone watching that's been thinking about journaling or writing down their agenda, their day to day, this is your sign, because I promise you, your day is so much more productive when you know what you're gonna do the day ahead. I started planning my week ahead. Yeah. So every Sunday I do that, you know?
You might want to write this one down that I learned a while back. It's if you fail to plan, you plan to fail.
Oh, yeah.
You probably already know it.
I love that. No, it's great.
Yeah. So, well, let's see. So you're obviously into a lot of stuff with the business you're doing now.
Yeah, I am actually.
Life insurance and amongst other things that we'll get to, but right now the one that's calling my name is life insurance, because I'm guilty of not having it. I had it for a short period, but then I was like, $70 a month. I'm living like I'm gonna save $70. I don't think I could die anytime soon. You know? So I did the kind that they come home and they take your blood, you know. And I think I signed up for like $400K.
Okay, got it.
But I really didn't know the details. I didn't ask much. I just thought life insurance, I'm good.
Okay.
But do you want to talk about that and enlighten us with maybe the different types?
Of course, I would love to, you know. So,
options.
Okay.
Because I've heard cases people don't get paid and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so let me write these down. Let me make sure I cover all these points. So I'm really glad that you bring this up. And before I say anything, I feel like I myself used to have a lot of misconceptions and stereotypes of insurance, right? And a little backstory, I guess, on how I began this. I was a dispatcher for a while, you know. I'm in the trucking industry. And my father, you know, truck driver, we'll get into that detail right now. Okay. But I used to see him, you know, he's been an owner-operator my whole life. He's been a businessman my whole life, done different stuff. And I used to hear my mom and my dad, or my mom, because my mom's a stay-at-home mom. I love my mom so much. Thank you for everything. Mom. Arriba Michoacán, she would want me to say that. But I used to hear my mom say, oh, no tengo mi seguro social activo. ¿Qué voy a hacer? And I'd be like, damn, do we only have Social Security for retirement? That's what I thought growing up, that we only had Social Security and 401k, because that's what I would hear, right? And my dad being an owner-operator, you know this, right? Making good money. But I feel like growing up, we always hear, oh, trabaja duro and put in the bank, right? At least, you know, we're exposed to so much more information nowadays, right? Having these different platforms. But I used to hear those things, and I would hear my parents talk about certain, you know, numbers, finances. And the older I got, that's when I was introduced to the financial industry, right? To the insurance, to be specific. And the first time I sat down, I was like, why hasn't no one ever said this to my parents? Like, my dad makes good money. He could have easily been setting aside a couple $100 for my mom's retirement, for his retirement, for our education, for my college. That would have prevented me to get a student loan, which is fine. Thank God he helped me pay it off, right? But the insurance you mentioned, you know, you weren't so sure exactly the details of it. And that's why I became so passionate to get into this industry when I was a dispatcher, because I would work with 50 to 70 different amazing gentlemen every day, right? I had a pretty big account at one point, and I would see them working super hard, you know, get there super early, me saludaban. I would go by my last name, Uribe, you know, Uribe this. And I would see them sometimes, and I'm like, these people remind me of my dad, of all my tios. I have a lot of family in the trucking industry, right? And I would be like, this was before I got super into it, like, oh, you know, tienes retiro, or do you save money aside? Or sometimes I would hear, you know, a specific person I would see every single day, and he would tell me, man, Genesis, I still live in an apartment. Like, I still have my family there. And in my head, I didn't say anything, you know, out of respect, but I was like, this man is making big checks every week. Like, what's happening, you know? And I started to realize the lack of financial education in my community. And that's when I said, you know what, I got to make that extra step to educate myself first so I can be that voice in my community, right?
So you were looking around, and that got your attention to jump in. You didn't just, like, because that sounds very random, you're going to ask the driver, hey, do you have retirement? Like, what sparked that interest to want to help them?
So I think I've always been just an advocate for my community. I just remember, you know, sometimes even my parents would be like, Genesis, you can't always solve everything for everyone. You know, like, I know you're always trying to be good, but I'm like, no, like, I want to help people. I want to do that. And, you know, I had friends already in the industry, and I would see them on Instagram post, you know, financial stuff. So I was already sparking my interest, right? And I don't want to stray too much from the topic, but we'll go into this as well. But I got introduced to something called the cash flow quadrant, right? And that's when I realized I was trading my time for money, right? Yeah. And like I mentioned earlier, before I think we started recording, I always knew I wanted to do something bigger, something better. And I would look at the truck drivers. Yo llegaba a la oficina like 6:30 maybe, a little bit later. I'd go in at 7, and then there was nights where I would leave till 7, 8 p.m., sometimes even later. And I'm like, these people are waking up earlier than me. Like, can I do this for the rest of my life? No, right? Like, I want to make a change. I want to be in control of my time, right? And I know, you know, that's what's discussed, obviously, in the industry. When you're an owner-operator, you're in control of your time, right? You could have your own schedules. But if you're being honest, you can still get stuck in that terminal, right? You still have to follow those routes that the dispatcher gives you. Sometimes the dispatcher is being told what to dispatch, you know? So there's still, like, you're still kind of tied to something. And I was like, you know what? I've always said this. I don't want to take it for granted that my parents literally moved countries for our family here. You know, so if my parents were able to buy a home, create their own business, take all 5 of us siblings through college, like, I should do an extra step, you know? Like, I better be like, thank you for doing that. Like, I'm going to go an extra mile for you. So I feel like in the back of my head, I've always just, ever since I was little, I don't know how to explain it. I've always known I want to do more and more and more for my community. And if I'm being honest, I don't think truck drivers are as respected as they should be, or valued as much as they should be. And I would always come home and tell my dad, mira, pa, this happened with this driver today. Like, they shouldn't have treated him this way. Like,
he's like,
I know. Yeah, and he's like,
there.
He's like, así es, mija. Like, ¿qué podemos hacer? You know, and I'm just like, no, there is something. Like, we need to figure something out. He's like, yeah, no te estreses. And then I know, I always just think about that. And, you know, I was blessed to be introduced to this industry. And then that's when I started saying, I was like, Dad, what do you have for your retirement? I feel like I hadn't even really thought about that. And then he was like, no, pues, you know. And I was like, what do you mean, you know? No, I don't know. Tell me, you know. What about for my mom? And then I was just introduced to it, and then just like fireworks. I was like, this is it, you know. If I'm able to be that outlet for someone to help them save. You said you were roughly $70 a month, and you had $400K, right? So I think everyone should at least have $1 million coverage, you know, that goes to that. And there's different options, and that's the thing people don't really know. And something I love about what I'm currently doing with my business is our firm puts education as the forefront, right? So before anything, I'm going to educate you on money concepts. I'm going to show you how to, you know, there's different accounts. And I remember when this was first introduced to me, one of the main things that caught my attention was that there's actually tax advantage accounts where you don't have to pay taxes on savings you have. And I was like, wait a minute.
Whoa. Well,
what do you mean? You know, and I feel like when that was said to me in my head, I was like, Diosito, this is what I've been praying for. You know, I've been asking you to give me an outlet where I'm able to talk, because, you know, so I love to talk. Like they always say, once again, hablo por los codos, right? And I was like, if I'm able to talk to my community, learn about this, educate myself, then I'm all here for it, you know? So you mentioned, you know, they go to your house, they just tell you, you know what, oh, this is good for you, da-da-da. No. I love to really get to know the person, right? You said $70. I feel like that sounds like a term policy to me. So a term policy is usually like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or 35 years, like that, right? So like, let's say you're paying monthly, pasan the next 10 years and you're safe, you're healthy, no te pasó nada. Thank you for your business. That's it. So that's a term policy. So it's a contract for a certain amount of years.
It's like a bed. I might die within the next 10. Well, me, I'm going to die like in 80 years.
Yeah.
But I don't want to, basically, it's like a gamble, right? Like, I'm kind of, it sounds fucked up, but it's like, I think I want to secure the next 10 years.
Right.
But then in 10 years, it doesn't mean you're still going to be as healthy as you were when you started that one.
Exactly.
Right?
So it's best to get insurance or cover it immediately, but I would recommend a permanent policy.
Okay.
Right? So permanent, for example, I work with Transamerica, actually, and our permanent policy covers you until you're 121 years old, right? So you don't have to worry about it. You know, if we do happen to come out on Univision, like, man, he's already 120 years old. How you doing it? Yeah, you know, like I'm still covered.
That's
you know,
the future. You know.
Hey, you never know. They might come out with another vaccine that helps you live another 50 years.
I have all my arm.
No, but really, in all honesty, I wish our community was educated more on those things, because that actually happened to my parents, right? Mm-hmm. Where they were sold a term policy when they were 20 years old, maybe just got married. They were probably sold like a 20-year policy. And then se les terminó the policy. They weren't informed on how it worked. They thought they were going to have it for the rest of their lives. So in their head, they're like, oh, we got scammed. Right?
Oh, okay.
So we got scammed. So when I was first getting into the industry, like, mija, ten cuidado, like this and this happened to us. And I was like, okay, I have to figure out what this means. So a lot of our people think they're getting scammed because they're not educated on the policy they signed for. That is only for a certain amount of years.
Okay.
Yeah. Because sometimes, like, no, mija, me van a robar. Prefiero dejarlo ahí en el like under the bed or in the bank, right? And I'm just like,
you guys keep it under the couch. What's that address? So I can
That's
go.
funny. I'm like, Mom, muévelo. I accidentally told her hidden spot. No, I'm just kidding. No, you know, but it's just a matter of not being properly educated when certain financial, like, let me tell you this. When was the last time someone came to you and said, let me actually educate you on this? Before they're like, you know what, just sign here, I'll do this and this for you. Like, sit down, show you concepts, you know, and like explain to you what something can do for you for the future, like in detail.
Yeah, that would be nice and influential towards you making that decision.
Right.
It's easier to make a decision once you have an idea of what it's doing for you, versus you go in with these defensive, defensive approach, you know.
Yeah, there's so much, and then you asked, I think, what would be some cases where they don't pay out, right? So, for example, that term, if you get a policy that's just for 10 years or just for 20 years, and gracias a Dios, you're still healthy, you're still living, they're not going to pay out your policy, your benefits, because that's a term. For example, or another example could be if you lie on your medical record, right? Let's say, oh, I know I have diabetes and cancer, but I'm going to say I don't because, I don't know, let's see if they approve me. Let's say for some reason they don't see it, they approve it, and then you die because of those reasons. They're going to be like, oh, this person lied to me. So, or lied to the contract, not to me, you know, obviously the insurance company. Yeah. So then what they would do is return all of your monthly investments and you won't receive the benefit. So that's another way that you won't get payout, is if you purposely lie on your application.
How do they, is there a process, like when they die, like now you gotta, what do you call it? The autopsy? Does it go that far? Like, let us know how they died so we know if we pay or not.
If it's like a weird case, maybe they do. I don't want to say weird case, but there is underwriting. So I always like to say the underwriter of an insurance company is basically an FBI for them. So they do medical background check, they do criminal background check, but it's all through we have to submit a death certificate once a person passes, right? And then the agents of the insurance company do a little investigation. So it varies, like let's say the person was like, natural death or something, then not too much. But let's say this person had a lot of like medication, was in and out of the hospital, then they're going to go ahead and put more attention to the details on how and why they passed away.
They also ask if you smoke or you don't smoke, right?
Yes, they do.
So if you're nice and healthy, cancer-free in the lungs, when you say that you do smoke, right? Mm-hmm. And you die of lung cancer 10 years later, will they still cover you?
Yes, sir. So when you first get approved, like let's say, so also get approved or start the process as soon as you can, right? So for example, let me give myself an example to make it easier. I'm 25 years old. I've had my policy now for about a year, right? So I haven't always known this, but I had to take action once I did, right? So I have my policy now. I've been approved. Luckily, right, I was rated the healthiest that you can be. God forbid que me enferme this next year or even tomorrow, and somehow I get a tragic terminal illness, they're still going to cover me and I'm still going to be rated as healthiest because that's what I first got when I was approved and did my policy, right?
How did they determine you were the healthiest?
Because they do a medical background check for everyone. Because, for example, the policy I have, it's a permanent policy with Transamerica, and we have living benefits, critical illness, terminal illness, and of course death benefits. So that's another misconception with life insurance, but it also depends, right? You have to really know what you're getting yourself into. So permanent insurances have living benefits, at least the ones I work with, right? So so for example, like God forbid, let's say que ahorita salgo, me atropellan, I lose a leg, bam, my death benefit immediately becomes to my living benefit. So then I start getting paid when I'm living. God forbid que me dé cancer, que me dé diabetes, I need home health care. It starts applying itself already. I get into coma, it starts applying already, right? Okay. So people don't know that either, that there's living benefits. Yes.
So you need to get one that's term with living benefits or permanent with living benefits?
I would recommend.
Well, I'll take it. Let me rephrase that. You suggest. Because this is not a guarantee.
Yeah.
Every case is different.
Yeah, every case is different. Please, make sure you have your details in order. But I do suggest a permanent. It depends if the person is way older. Like let's say the person's like already in their 50s or 60s. You know what? Like, okay, let's just do a term. But if you're 20 years old or, younger, 30, doesn't really matter the age. I do recommend a permanent one. If we get into detail, I do plan on purchasing a term as well, so then I have multiple different ones. So
you can have more?
Yeah, you can, of course. So right now, I'm in the process of having 3 different benefits. So I have my I'm flicking off. My bad, I didn't mean to. So let me use my finger. So I have my long-term care one, which is a permanent, right? So, and also there's cash accumulation to insurance as well. So that's a new thing as well. Well, not new, but kind of, right? So you're also able to invest in the stock market with insurance. And because it's through insurance, your money's locked in. Like, literally, you cannot lose money. And when I learned these, there's so much to it. There's so much to it.
So what if the stock,
right.
on the outside in, like,
right.
What if the stock market crashes then?
That's a great question. So there's something called index accounts. And with those, the market goes up, you go up with the market goes down, your money locks in. Market goes up, you go up, market goes down, it locks in. That's another reason why I got my life insurance license, because with my license, I'm able to access those accounts, right? So if anyone here watching is familiar with it, right? So right now with my current life insurance, I'm investing in S&P 500, right? The Euro Stock Exchange and Hang Seng. So that's so S&P 500 is the top 500 performing American companies. You have Tesla, you have Amazon, you have Apple, right? And then the European ones and then the Asian ones as well. So that's combined into the life insurance. So not only am I covered for when I pass, have living benefits. So if God forbid I need help or, dialysis, I lose a leg, I'm in a coma, I get help right now, but my money is also growing as well at the same time, right? So I feel like when I got in this industry and I learned all of these things, there's so much even more little stuff that will probably come to my mind right now, but there's so much to it. I wish someone would have educated my family, right? Like I'm still constantly every day trying to get out there. And when we first got in communication, I was like, I need to make sure all these truck drivers know this because it's such a dangerous job. And as an owner operator, you don't have any coverage. You think that trucking company is going to cover you if something happens to you? You're an owner operator, right? So it probably depends, right? But
this is a very specific question. Does it have any, does the is it territorial, like, or anywhere in the world you could die? I know it might sound naive, but
no, it's
what
not
if someone dies inside the terminal? That I think that's considered international, right?
That's actually a great question, but I think if you're an owner operator, then it wouldn't count as workers' comp, right? Compared to if you're a company driver, then that probably would kind of fall on your company. But because of its support, you're right. I'm gonna write that down, and I'm gonna get you back a clear answer.
Yeah. We want to avoid all the little forgive the defensive approach, but we want to avoid all the loopholes that can be used to not pay out. Because if we do invest in this, we want to make sure that the beneficiaries get that's the whole purpose. Like,
yep.
You're not gonna be around to debate
and talking about debating. It's like, do you have a will? Do you have those?
I thought that was the same thing, like a will and the life insurance. The will. I thought the will applies if you have assets. If you don't have shit, then what's the will for? You could get my favorite. You could get my journal. You can get.
No, there's a lot to it. I
put
just
that on the will.
That's funny. Yeah, that's gonna be famous, worth a lot of money.
One of one for now.
But
not really. But anyway.
Did you sketch that out yourself?
No, this guy has a page on Instagram called American Truckers League.
Okay.
So he does. The concept is he does like different trucks and kind of like baseball card theme.
Okay, I like that. I like it.
Collectible. I don't know if he's still going in that direction, but that's when I met him. That's what he was doing.
Might have to get one for my dad then. It looks really dope.
Thank you.
I like it. But yeah, no. Definitely a lot to it, I actually just finished submitting my own will.
Yes, will.
Yeah, I just finished submitting my own, and it's a great feeling, man. Like,
what's an example of don't tell us the details of yours, but what would one put in a will and how much is it?
Right.
Why should we get a will?
Okay.
What's the difference with that and life insurance?
So
3 questions, sorry.
No, you're good. So let me know if I missed a question or something that I didn't answer. So I just got finished. I actually just completed it last night, and I cried. First of all, I'm a crybaby, and I cried filling it out because, first of all, rest in peace, my tia Lucila, right? But her funeral was beautiful, and I heard some of my tias during the funeral saying, "Man, hasta escogió las flores," and I was like, "Wait, what do you mean que escogió las flores?" Like, and then I heard that she planned out her entire funeral before she passed. And it was beautiful. There were so many roses. She had the playlist. She had everything, the pictures. And first of all, I love to dance. I love banda. And I've always said I want to have banda in my funeral. And as a joke, my mom would be like, "Vas a dejar el dinero para la banda?" Like, joking, like laughing. We would just laugh about it. I wouldn't even think about it. And then I was like, wait, I really do want banda though in my funeral. I want it to be, alegre. I don't want them to be sad. And then now with this, I'm like, I can even pick the banda, have it in my will, have the money for it. So an example for that, for the will, right? So I'm paying, a certain amount monthly based on my age and how much coverage I want. And it's not a lot. It's really a little bit. Doesn't go over the hundreds, depending your age, though. If you really want to know, it's around like $40, right? Or so, and it depends on the coverage. And there's not a medical really background check for that. So it's so easy to have a funeral concierge, right? So they pay out your money. They assign you an agent to help your family, right? They take care of all of the funeral services that has to get done. So I completed that for myself yesterday, and then I got back a questionnaire, and it goes, Would you like to be cremated or buried? So it really makes you think, right? Would you like flowers? What color flowers would you like? You know?
So that will goes hand in hand with the funeral. How do you pronounce it?
Concierge. Yeah. So those are those services.
It's like wedding planners, but for dead.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
But it feels so good having that in place because I'm like, you know what? God forbid que algo me pase before my parents. I know they're not going to have to worry and be like, you don't know how. I grew up going to church in Wilmington. You don't know how many fundraisers and comidas I've been to help save for people. I would stay at that park, stand there all day serving the same enchiladas all day because that would be my job, right? To helping whoever was trying to raise money. And then they'd be like, oh, we've got to come back again tomorrow because not enough was saved. And those are just unfortunate things that happen, right? And I grew up thinking that was normal. Yeah, right. Yeah. And now that I'm older, I'm like, wait, I can literally set a couple bucks a month, and I'm already guaranteed for that to be taken care of for me.
You don't want to leave the fate of your loved ones to the earnings from a car wash, and then what?
I feel like if people imagine, I feel like I'm just trying to create a new image for myself, right? Sometimes I joke because I'll be like, oh, boss babe on Instagram, but how am I going to be like boss babe this, business that, and then I pass and I leave a mess. I want it to be like, you know, God forbid que algo me pase. My family calls me Jenny. So imagine them being like, damn, Jenny really, man, she made sure everything was good. Like, you know?
Or Jenny was pushing this and Jenny didn't even practice what she preached.
Right. So just having that set in place, like sometimes I'm going to leave the house. You never know when something happens to you. And I'd jokingly, I'd be like, Mom, remember, si algo me pasa, remember, you're going to get a check. And she'd be like, no digas eso. But it really is a good feeling to know that if something happens to me, right, like, my parents, you know, debt gets rolled over to your family, right? It's like not only are you like, oh, I died, everything's good. Like people leave back problems, and that's something I didn't want to leave back for my family. Obviously, I would love to live until I'm 100, right? But you never know when something's gonna happen. So bien llorona, right? So I cried yesterday when I finished my application, and I said, okay, God.
Should I go get tissue?
No. Maybe for later. Okay. But, you know, knowing you have yourself covered, it's just a great feeling, right? Knowing before it used to be a joke if I was going to leave money behind for banda, and now I have it in place. You know?
I think people feel like they jinx it. There's a lot of superstition as well. I feel like why do people put off getting coverage? Exactly. Like you just think it won't happen to you. But I think if they know there's a gain from it as well, if nothing happens to them, they'll be more they'll want to do it. Because they see it like you save a couple bucks, and if all goes well, you don't die.
Yeah, people see it like I feel like people think of it like a car insurance, right? For example, like, oh, it's just a payment. So right now I'm using my life insurance as my retirement plan as well, right? So once I hit a certain age, I'm able to touch my money any age, whenever I want, penalty free, compared to like a 401k, right?
How does your money? What do you mean your money? Like you mean if you hit a certain age and you don't die, the money you paid towards the policy becomes like a savings or
exactly? I'm able to get that right now if I want.
What?
Yep. So do you know what 401k stands for?
I'm not a master of that. I've heard of them, but I've never really been an employee long enough to where like I'm gonna reap the rewards.
That's okay. So a 401k is actually a tax code. It's like page 401, paragraph K. Wow. And when I learned that, I'm like, someone asked me, do you think, you know, obviously it's the government, right? You think the government's gonna put a 401k more to your advantage or to theirs if it's literally a tax code to them? And I was like, you're right. And, you know, 401k is a whole different, you know, topic, but there's so many penalties, taxes. I used to think only if you withdrew your money after 65, you didn't get penalized. You still get taxed on state and federal, even if you wait until the proper age. So with the insurance I have right now, I'm able to access the money I have right now if I want to. I'm able to pull it out right now if I want to. But it's a long-term investment in the way I see it, right? So I'm setting aside a couple $100 a month, and I'm just forgetting about it. Let's say there's an emergency, it's right there. And if, God forbid, no I won, it just keeps growing It's growing in the stock market. It's growing my death benefit. So con años, your death benefit increases, which is also your living benefit. So there's just so many benefits to it. I'm like, how did I not know about this? Or I feel like I'm very passionate about this, right? And also when I first got into this industry, I would hear people in my family be like, mira la Jenny, like she doesn't even, she hasn't even been in that industry, or like, I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but they would be like, oh, this industry, nomás son para los gabachos. And I'm like, what do you mean nomás para los gabachos? Like, that's why we are where we are, because we get closed sometimes on not wanting to get out of your comfort zone, and put yourself out somewhere new. It was uncomfortable for me at first. One of my greatest mentors, Ari Tamori, shout out to you, my best friend now, but he's actually younger than me. Yeah. He's actually younger than me, and he's been in business for around 3 years now, and he was showing me all of these things, and I felt kind of embarrassed when he was teaching me these stuff, and I didn't know them. But he was like, no, stop being embarrassed. This is why people don't learn, and people don't ask questions, and people don't get out of their comfort zone because they're embarrassed that they don't know, instead of putting themselves out there, being vulnerable. People don't like to be vulnerable, right? So now that I look back, I'm like, whoa, I've learned so much just this past year. I'm so glad I put myself in an uncomfortable situation. I'm so glad I bet on myself, left my 9 to 5 to run my own business. People telling me, like, what are you doing? You have such a good dispatching job. I loved my drivers. I still actually communicate with a few of them, Be like, let me know if you start dispatching again. And I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna, I'm running this business. And
you're dispatching them, you're dispatching life insurance now and
exactly.
Financial education.
Ooh, I like how you put that. I'm gonna write that down.
And it's a hot load. No, it's a hot, whatever, you get what
it's on the merge. Gotta get it out.
ASAP. But nah, the family will get hit with that demerge if they don't get that policy.
Exactly.
Ooh, I know you didn't come on here like trying to make a sale, but you got me curious as fuck.
Good, like, and I'm not trying to. I really am not, because it's just.
Especially Latinos, right away we feel, ¿qué me quieres vender?
Yeah, and I'll be like, you know what, like, just hear me out, and I promise I'll make you feel better. Like, I'm such a daddy's girl and mama's girl. Like, I love my parents so much, and it makes me feel so proud. Once again, not only am I talking about it, I'm doing it, or sometimes, or even for little kids. You can start these policies for your little kids. And first of all, if you're interested, I'll go into detail, right? But for little kids, and if you start saving a couple bucks for a 1-year-old, for example, my good friend Michelle, I just helped her set aside a policy for her daughter that's 9 months. By the time her daughter's 20, maybe going to college now or school, she's going to have over $500,000 that's accumulated. So there's just so much. There's just so much value to learning financial concepts, and learning how your money can work for you. That goes back to the cash flow quadrant. If anyone is catching this, please look up cash flow quadrant. So the first corner is E for employee, right? You're trading time for money. The bottom is S, self-employed. I've also heard small struggling business, which also hurts me, right? Mm-hmm. So you're also still trading your time for money. The top right corner is B for business. That's when you've created a system and leverage people to create you money, to create you profit. For example, those owner operators, there's some working on their own. There's some that have a team of 10 drivers, 5 drivers, right? They've created a system for them that works for them. And then the bottom corner is I for investor, when you finally have your money working for your money, right? I think everyone said, I want to make money in my sleep. That's still my goal, right? So cash flow quadrant really just changed my perspective on things. And
there's levels to it, or is that just for reference? Like,
that's just for reference.
This is where I'm at.
Yeah, it's just for
next
reference.
It would be this.
Yeah, it's just for reference because, for example, I jumped from employee. I guess you can say I've always helped my dad with his trucking industry, in whatever way I can. So, you can kind of say I jumped from employee to business owner, right? So the limit is in the head, right? And that's another thing I've really focused on is mindset, right? Having that growth mindset, right? Being open to constructive criticism, not taking things personal. One of the first books that changed my life that my cousin Michael, The Four Agreements. Yeah, it changed my life. I started reading that book my senior year of college.
I need to reread it. When you read it something over and over, there's always something you missed, and and you absorb it even better. You know.
Do your best. Be impeccable with your word. Mm-hmm. Don't take things personal.
Don't assume.
And don't assume. Yeah. Oh, that's the one I have to work on a lot. You know, we always want to assume things.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to call them because they don't want to. Oh, they think this of me. Oh, they think that of me. Like.
And then especially the actions that you take based on the assumption, and then you realize your assumption was totally off, and now you created this whole other interesting situation for yourself.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. If no one's read that book, I highly, highly recommend it. That's what changed I really think that book changed my life. That's what got me into looking more into self-development, listening to podcasts, right? Like journaling even more. And the psychology of the human brain is so interesting. Like the limit is really in your head. And I think that goes to show, I feel like I'm living proof, right, of jumping around, going to school, I did different majors when I was in school, studied a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and I was never like content with what I was doing. I always knew there was something more and more and more, but I wasn't really that positive in the head, if I'm being honest, right? I wasn't always like the way I present myself now.
Got to build that.
Exactly.
The way you talk to yourself matters too.
Oh man, every day.
And if you believe what people say, sometimes people would have no clue what you're really about. And if you let that opinion define you, now you're gonna be a million different people in one day if you try to cater to all those opinions. So.
You just said it. I was just told this actually a couple weeks ago, and I said you have to be so sure and certain of who you are. If not, other people's opinions will define you. Yeah, so you have to be so certain of who you are. Like, look at every morning when I wake up, this might be cheesy, but I look at myself in the mirror and I'm like, you're that girl. You're doing your best. Like, I have vision boards in my room, right? I have affirmations every single day. So this is what I tell myself every day. I am happy. I am healthy. I am in control of my reality, and I attract money. Those are the 4 things I tell myself every day. Ease. Every day. Well, I'm gonna add it with that, with ease. Every day I say that to myself. And I actually listened to a podcast. I can't remember the name of the woman right now, but she was with Ed Milet on a podcast. And they were talking about the scientific research behind giving a high five. And it stimulates so many happy thoughts because, there you go. It stimulates so many happy thoughts because, you know, when you're little...
I'm so happy, guys. When you're little, high-fived her.
When you're little, you're like, you know, high five, you're walking, or high five, you did this, right? Yeah. So without even thinking about it, so the lady in the podcast said, when you wake up or when you do something good, just be like, high five in the mirror. You're doing so good today. And I honestly do that sometimes. I'm like, someone gonna think I'm crazy right now, but I do it, and it's the little things you do for yourself.
That is cheesy, but I like it.
Yeah, try it.
I'm vegetarian and I like cheese.
Hey, Alex.
Nah, that's good.
Hey, there's different options now.
I'm gonna try it.
Like today when we leave, you know, we're here on a Sunday morning. We can be with our family. We could be at the swap meet. Shout out to Gio. I was just talking to Gio. He said he was going to the swap meet today. I want to be at the swap meet.
He got you lost. You were saying, huh? He said Gio doesn't know how to give instructions, directions.
I was like, I know I'm here, but I can't find the place now. Shout out to Gio Mars. Honestly, really good friend, right? Got to meet him in person. He was actually one of the first people I told outside of my immediate family that I was thinking of getting into the insurance industry, and he supported me. Yeah, he fully supported me. He told me, you know, like, go after what you want, and I was like, cool, that's all I needed to hear. I'm gonna go for it.
What if you would have said no?
I'd have been like, well,
that's the thing.
I'm gonna still do it.
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But you're right. A lot of times people's opinions really tear you down because, you know, sometimes, sadly, it's the closest people around you that just, they're so comfortable with seeing you the same all the time. I've seen this quote. I'm sure you've seen it. And they say something like, oh, sometimes the people that don't really support you or kind of hate on you are the people closest to you because they see you just like them. And they're like, damn, why are they actually comfortable getting out of their comfort zone and doing more and I'm not? We went to the same school. We live on the same block. Why are they doing that and I'm not? And that's just their inner thoughts.
It comes down to choices. That everyone makes a choice.
Exactly.
And they feel uncomfortable that having the same opportunities and the same, you know,
Right. So it all comes down to what you do, right? I feel like, being Mexicana, being Latina, I feel like at 25, sometimes it'd be like, ¿y el novio? ¿Te
Why
vas
is
a
there that
casar?
stigma? Is that what you could call it? That everyone thinks at a certain age you gotta have it figured out. I think 25 through 30, that's when you get the most pressure from society to be a certain thing. And a lot of times the people pressuring you to be a certain thing don't even have their own shit figured out. Like, just gotta like focus on your lane. And because in reality, what does it matter if like everyone surrounding you is surpassing you or behind you? All that matters is where you're going. Like,
Exactly.
like a race, those Michael Phelps, it's so critical to just focus on your lane. 1 second that you look at your competitor,
Te pasaron.
that can be, crucial
Yeah.
in winning or losing.
Yeah.
So like, just focus on being better than you were yesterday. That's it.
Exactly. There's a saying that says, if I'm 1% better every day, in 100 days, I'll be 100% better. And I think about that a lot too. I'm like, you know what? Today, let me just go that extra step. Just focus on today. Just focus on today. And it can take you so far. And going back to that, I was also told one time, don't take advice from someone who you wouldn't trade places with. So if anyone out here has an idea, they've been working on a business idea, and someone around you's be like, nah, like, you're crazy. Like, yeah, be crazy. It takes crazy people to get out of their comfort zone. I say, yeah, I'm crazy.
Yeah.
But in a good way. It all depends on how you think of that term. Like, you know?
Well, they thought the Wright brothers were crazy.
Yeah.
A lot of people, they think they're crazy, and then when they make it, then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, we believed in you.
Right.
That's cool.
The McDonald's brothers too.
But if you fuck up, it's like, told you so. Oh, people love that shit. Told you so. Yeah, you're stuck right here with me, buddy. Told you.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, let me see. We went over why people don't get coverage, did we? Or I kind of assumed.
A little bit. So to answer that really quick, right? So a lot of it depends with if you have living benefits, your health does matter, right? So sometimes people get declined because they're in the middle of a cancer treatment. They have insanely high diabetes, and they're not working to control it. They're not taking medicine, right? Or if you're like a major felon, like, I'm sorry, there's certain areas you don't get approved. But with the firm I'm in right now, right? So we're also a marketing firm. So we work with 70 different companies, right? So there's options. That's what I'm doing right now, right? One of my uncles, my tío Berto, he has cancer, and I've been working so hard to find a coverage for him and find something for him. So there are options. But one of the reasons why you might be declined is if, for example, what if I'm like, I only want to pay $5? This is just an example, right? I don't think there's coverage like that. Let's just say I only want to pay $5 and I want $1 million coverage, but I have cancer, I have diabetes, and I'm a felon. They're going to be like, Genesis, I'm so sorry, we can't do that, So it kind of depends on how much you're investing monthly and your health and your record. So those are some of the factors that are considered when getting insurance.
Okay. And is it weird? It sounds awkward for a parent to get life insurance on a child. Like, people do that? Like, that must be weird. That, God forbid, they go before you. What would be a reason for someone to do that?
I think everyone should do that.
Because you're hoping it doesn't happen, right? And that they get the benefits when they're older.
So not only is it for that, but it works as a retirement plan as well, right?
Okay.
So by the time, or not even just retirement, like, you've been saving and accumulating money every month for your child. Let's say you're doing $100, más o menos, $100. Those $100, remember I mentioned earlier, certain accounts, right? At least the ones I work with, work also in the stock market. Remember, you're also growing money for your child. So by the time they're 20, you probably accumulated an extra $20,000 on what you have invested. So then, you know what, mija, you're going to college already, or you want to start your own business like your mom, instead of going to school, or you want to do this, you want to do that. Instead of getting a loan, they can get the money out they've already been investing. So it's also saving for their future as well, right? So that's another component people don't know about.
Can you get a policy on someone without their consent? I heard there was this scandal. I may be wrong on who knows, maybe it was fake news, but
Right.
Walmart allegedly was getting policies on the employees, and the employees didn't even know about it.
To my opinion, I definitely think that's probably illegal.
Yeah.
Don't quote me on it, but you definitely need consent. There's a lot of personal information, right? Like social address, license, all that good stuff. So definitely you need to have consent of the person that you're getting the policy for.
I can't be like, Tia, I'm betting on you. I'm gonna get you, a little policy, put
You
myself as a
could.
beneficiary.
No, I don't think that's possible. You could put them as your beneficiary and just let them know. There's not really like a deep process for the beneficiary, so you could, potentially like I could put you as my beneficiary. You probably won't even know, right? And then they'd call you and be like, Genesis actually put you. So that's different, because you're just.
No, but can I get a policy on you and make myself the beneficiary?
No, that's no.
Just start investing in people.
Okay.
I invest in people.
I love that. I like to invest in people too, but.
But that's kind of a sinister way of.
Yeah, I don't think that's possible. I don't, or obviously Walmart did it, right? But I don't think that's with integrity, right? I don't think that should be done. Wow, I'm gonna have to look up that article because I wasn't even sure that was happening. So let me write that down.
Yeah, it's like a couple years ago, or so.
Okay.
Let me see what else I got. I don't want to ask the same question and
You're
then.
Good. Está buena la plática, so we need to stay on track.
Then bore them to death with, bro, you asked her the same shit 3 times. So I'm gonna bring up GoFundMe pages.
Okay.
We cannot we can't have. Okay, there was this meme I saw. There's 2 lines. The long ass line for the GoFundMe.
Right.
And there's no one in line for life insurance.
Right.
So that meme was like, okay, because you do see that a lot, like people. I don't know. What I'm getting at is that we absolutely should change our mindset and know that there's options.
Right.
Especially owner operators, independent contractors, because they're not employees, so they kind of, in some cases, even though they make really good money, I've been there. You're making good money, but you're still living paycheck to paycheck in a way. So if you get sick, if you have an injury, the bills keep coming. So there's got to be more education, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And no one's really telling them, but it's in the job description itself. Independent. Like, you need to look out for yourself. You need to make a plan. So, like, I think it would be great if you're up for it, you and I, we could look into what are the main things that, not force feed it, but kind of say, hey, this is the ideal package for an owner operator. Okay. You know what I mean? Because no one's really pushing this. Like, a lot of these guys, sure, they're healthy now. So what policy would be better for someone that in trucking, man? In trucking, you start fit, you start, and a lot of like these health issues, they come from that line of work. You miss your meal, you're on energy drinks, you don't sleep. And it all adds up. So by the time they're sick, no one's gonna cover them. So why not get them on board now?
Exactly.
And
the sooner you start saving, start covering yourself.
And show them that it's not really like money in the trash. See it more like an investment. It's an investment, and I wish. Because people are optimistic. They're like, that's how I would think. I'm putting $70 a month, but if I don't die, I'm just throwing $70 away. It sounds kind of. I'm sure a lot of people think that way sometimes. Like, I'll be okay. I'll renew later. And the fact is, you very likely won't renew or look into it once you stray from that. It's not really a priority. It should be.
Right.
But that's a long ass sentence.
No, that's.
So let me know what you think about that. Like, your dad's a trucker. So did you set him up? What did you? If you don't mind sharing with us, how did you set him up based on his?
So based on his age, my dad's already, in his 50s, so he didn't have anything set in place for himself. So, we looked into the Transamerica IUL. That's one of the ones that I have, a very, popular one because it's permanent, right? So I looked into that for him. And if I'm being honest, because he's a little bit older, no le convenía tanto because that's more compounding for your money to grow with time, right? So I actually also work with Nationwide. So we got him a Nationwide policy. And then I mentioned earlier that I finished my own will yesterday. That's with a company called Everest. And I finished my dad's this morning before I came here. So I now have him with Nationwide covered. With life insurance, right? And I also have him with his Everest, so he has his will now. So my mom and my dad actually already have terreno for us. They bought 4 spots, and I was like, "Ay, ma, you're scaring me." But so they have the 4 spots already, but that doesn't include the services, right? My mom laughed because I said it doesn't include the little carrito that they move you around in. She'll probably laugh when she sees this because I always forget the name of it. But
Arriba Michoacán.
But that's so funny. But so I have that for my dad and my mom now, So I actually spoke to a young gentleman. He was a truck driver. He reached out to me, my age actually, and he said, "You know what? It's not the right time." And I didn't want to push it because I respect people's opinions, but I was like, "Man, you're making all this money. You're 25." I was trying to enlighten him with the value of it, but some people just
Why does he feel it's not the right time? Like, assuming, I don't think I'm dropping dead anytime soon. Or
yeah,
what was the
that's kind of what
behind,
he's. Sorry for cutting you off. Go ahead.
What was the context behind that answer? Like,
yeah, he just said, "You know what? It's just not the right time right now. I'm young." And I didn't want to be like...
It's the best time, isn't it?
I was trying to, tell him, but I was like, you know what? Like, people, once they make a choice, like, I don't want to come off as, like, I'm, like, being super aggressive with it. But I think everyone needs to have coverage. Anyone and everyone, especially truck drivers. And that's been one of my goals, right? So I have going on to a year now in the industry. So one of my main goals I've been working towards is coming closer with the trucking community. That's honestly one of my main goals. I know I've been talking to Daniel as well from LAMBP Trucking. He's been telling me as well, let's get together, let's do some events together, let's talk to more drivers. And I'm here today. So once again, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I've been really wanting to reach out to the trucking community. And I speak Spanish, right? So I just want to, hablamos español. So I've been trying to educate my community on these topics. And you also mentioned something, right? So you first mentioned the GoFundMe and people living paycheck to paycheck, even if they're owner operators or have their own business, right?
Yes.
And that's one of the main things that I also have learned is paying myself first. My mom always says, "Nunca se acaba el quehacer y nunca se acaba los biles." And I feel like when that really clicked, I was like, you're right. I need to put myself as a priority. I don't have a family yet. I don't have a husband yet, none of that. So I said, why am I putting excuses and not saving $10 a day, $5 a day for myself? Like actually saving them aside. Because before I would get my paycheck, and then right away when I would get my paycheck, I would say, okay, this much for the rent and this much for my nails this week. Mm-hmm. And I would never physically get even $20 from a check and put it aside. I would let it all just go to the bank where my direct deposit was, and I wouldn't physically move money aside for myself. So when I learned paying myself first...
So that's a way of paying yourself, setting aside?
Yes, that's the way I see it. The way I see it, right, is setting aside money every month for myself. Because no matter what, van a haber biles. No matter what, van a haber, stuff you have to buy, groceries, all that stuff. So also budgeting.
Yeah, because then if there's nothing left to pay yourself, because your bills are so much. So
it's a matter of just budgeting and like really sit down. How many subscriptions do you have that you don't use? How many subscriptions do you have that you don't use? And people say like avoiding Starbucks every day isn't going to make you richer. You need to grow your cash flow. But si estás apretado, why are you going to Starbucks every day,
Because it's good.
I can't lie, I go to Starbucks too, but I've been pushing myself to create a bigger cash flow, right? So, or sometimes I'll talk to people, no shade to anyone, I respect you guys, but they'll be like, oh, I don't even have this much to set aside a month. That's okay. And then, I connect with them on Instagram, and then they're going to expensive restaurants, they're going to viajes. Oh,
you're stalking these guys.
I mean, hey, we connect on there, so I see them, and they'll talk to me. And they're like, oh, I don't have this much to save aside, but they be getting their nails done every week. But people don't think about it like, you're already doing stuff every day that you're spending money on.
Yeah, in Spanish it's called gastos hormigas.
Yeah, what's falling between the cracks?
Yeah, they all add up.
Exactly.
I did my math on Starbucks. It's like over maybe $2,500 a year.
Wow. Yeah, think about that.
So what could I invest that $2,500 at the end of the year if I opted out of Starbucks?
That's a great. I wish I was like trying to math in my head. So that can literally be an investment for yourself for insurance. That's already a lot. 25 in 1 year. That can create you such a. And I know I talked about this earlier, creating that generational wealth. It doesn't have to be 1,000 per month. Mm-hmm. It doesn't have to be a big number. And that's another thing I love about what I do is that I'm able to work with the middle class, right? Yeah. A lot of these banks like JP Morgan, right? Some of these big banks, they won't work with you unless you're starting with over 6 figures. Mm-hmm. Right? I think one time not too long ago, Elon Musk posted something on his story. It was a link. And it said if you wanted to invest in his company and his ideas. And I was like, oh, let me click on it. Obviously, I knew I probably wasn't going to be able to immediately. But the first option was like $500,000. And I was like, yo, I don't have that right now to invest, right? So a lot of these investment companies, you start off with a very big number. Even real estate, you have to have like a really big chunk of money saved aside in order for you to create profit, right? Compared to you starting to save aside somewhere where it's cash accumulation. That's the key, right? So not all insurances are cash accumulation, but some are. The one I have is, so I'm setting aside a couple $100 a month. With that, some people, that's called lump sum. So that's when you invest. You're like, you know what, Genesis? The information is so valuable, but I don't want to hear you no more. I'm going to just give you the $25,000 así de una y ya. Or some people do it monthly, But I've had clients say, you know what? This is a lot. Honestly, I have 10 grand right now. Let's just go like that. So then they'll invest así de una, the 10 grand a month, right? And then we divide it per month and we take care of the whole thing. So, I feel like in different stocks, not that I'm against any other stocks or crypto, it's great to have different outlets, but those are usually variable accounts. So they go up and down with the market, up and down, compared to having an index account. You only go up or you lock in. Like you literally don't lose your money. So I'm never thinking like, man, I'm working so hard and then I'm losing it. Yeah. I would love, to actually show you some visuals and details of it because when I first started learning about it, I felt like it was too good to be true. And I was like, this is what all these rich people in PV and other nice, but that's what they're doing. They're creating generational wealth, right? So sometimes I feel like a mad scientist because I'm like, oh my God, I'm like calculating.
You brought up that generational wealth a lot. Like, what does that mean to you? Like, you don't have kids, so what generational wealth are you talking about? No, I'm just. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. I'm not trying to be rude.
No, you're not.
I'm just saying, would someone that has no kids or chooses to not have kids be like, I don't need generational wealth. I need my own wealth.
I think it's about being selfless. It goes back to me being super proud of my raíces and where my family comes from. And sometimes I think the struggles my parents went through, like when they first came to the U.S., right? They were both very young. And they tell me all these stories and I'm like, man, my parents really went through it. Like, I have to make it worth what they, I just feel like I have that in my head, right? Not that I'm not adding value right now, but I feel like till this day, my parents wake up 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, work. Like, if they're doing that, I better do more than them, right? That's just the way I see it, right? I feel like a part of my love language is to serve, is to give. And right now, my main focus is my parents.
But they have that mindset too. Work harder, harder.
Exactly. My dad's always been like, mija, like the limit's in your head. You can do more. My parents are so extremely supportive. I feel very, very, very blessed. Rosa and Jorge, I love you guys, my parents. But they're extremely supportive with everything I do. And creating generational wealth, like I want to put my last name, Uribe. I want my last name to be known. Right? And yes, I don't have kids yet.
Was I wrong for that? Yet. I've been thinking about that question. Could I have asked it differently?
No, I think that's a perfect question because it makes people think.
It's very direct because
exactly.
That's how I take it because I have kids. But how, because the family tree.
Right.
So the next Molinas, they're wealthy.
Right. So the way I see it is,
how does someone with no kids see it? That's just going with the intention that when you do have kids, you're prepared, right?
Right. So my intention is I do want to have kids and I do want to have a family. I do see that for myself. But let's say I don't. I have my little sister Hazel. I love her so much.
That's your blood. That's my generational.
And or even Hazel's family, my brother Angel's kids, my sister Candy's kids, Kaylani, my niece. I love her. Like, I want them to just be like, they call me Auntie Jenny. I want to be like, oh, Auntie Jenny, like, she was all about it. Like, she made sure we were educated. She made sure she left us behind. And, like, let's say, you know what? Diosito has different plans for me. Let's say I don't get married and I don't have kids. I would love to, first make sure obviously my family's okay, but even
help others build their generational wealth.
I was thinking early before I came here, and I was like, what would I be doing if I wasn't doing this right now, right? I would love to somehow maybe...
I was literally going to ask you that.
For the generational wealth, I would love, and it goes back to mindset. Sometimes I get really into it. In school, I mean, I grew up here in Carson. I went to LAUSD. Sticking to the generational wealth, I wasn't taught that as a child. I wasn't taught to have growth mindset. Let's say, first of all, putting it out in the universe, I'm going to be a millionaire, right? I've always known since I was little, I'm going to have some money and help others. I would love to either build like a club or a school for my community here by the ports, LA, Long Beach, Carson. I would love to have a system that grows children's mindset. I would love a school or, once again, a program, something where kids could be themselves, not just sitting in a chair for 8 hours like this, like where they can explore, ideas, and not only your typical nurse, doctor, or lawyer. There's so much out there. I would love to give my money to communities like our own, right, to be able to just have people more conscious about their thoughts. I feel blessed to be, I am still young, 25, and I like to say I'm conscious of my thoughts. I still have a lot of work to get done, right, as a person, but imagine if we grew up. They never stop,
so you got to keep them in check.
Imagine if you would have started, though, having these conversations when you were 5. It's...
Yeah, they do absorb a lot, right?
Oh, yeah. So that's what my generation, that's what I see for my generational wealth, right? If it's not for my own family and kids, then I would love to spread my value to, to anyone and everyone. And I feel like it really starts when you're little. And my parents did an amazing job in raising me. And I remember even sometimes we'd go to the store, and then my dad always, ordena tu comida. And I'd be like, no, Dad, I'm so shy. Ordena tu comida. Up. He would make sure I ordered my food. If we were at the store, couldn't find the water bottles, let's say, ve pregúntale dónde está el agua. And I'd be like, Dad, why? And then now that I'm older, I'm like, thank you, Dad. Thank you. Or even when I would go to Lotrina, like, all right, I'll pick you up later. And I was like, what? So they really forced me in a way to put myself out there, to talk, to communicate. And I wish communication skills was taught to young kids, right? And mindset, being like, hey, you made a mistake, you didn't pass your test. It's okay, you're just going to learn. Because I remember when I was bad at math little, and I would feel embarrassed. The teacher gives you your test you failed, puts it upside down, automatically giving the kid shame. Why are we? Mm-hmm. And if you actually think about it, it affects you in the future, I remember being in college.
But it also would have affected you if she gave you an A and knowing damn well you didn't deserve it.
Right.
So it goes right.
That's true, but I definitely think we can have more open conversation with kids. Sometimes we think kids are like, they don't know, but they know so much more.
He's not ready
right.
yet.
Right.
You're just a kid. You ain't ready yet.
Yeah.
Till they're ready and they don't know what the fuck to do.
They don't know how to communicate, right? They're very gullible, or they don't know how to stand up for themselves just because they weren't taught those things. Todavía está chiquito.
So what good is building generational wealth if the one claiming that asset doesn't know what to do with it?
Exactly. Shit. And you know what? I've said to myself, I want to teach my kids all of this and educate them on all these financial things I've been learning and what I have yet to learn, and be like, you know what? When I pass away and you get my benefits, don't go splurge it. You better pop that into another investment, another insurance, and keep the cycle going. That's how you build generational wealth. And when I think about that, I'm like, oh, I think with my policy that I have right now, I'm going to have over $1 million in benefit, like $1.5 million in benefits, right? That's considering what I'm investing right now. My plan is to do more, right? So instead of me being like, oh, go spend it out, I'm going to make sure my kids know how to manage their money. I mean, God willing, because, you never know what life plans, right? But if it goes my way, I would love to help them already build wealth while I'm alive. And just teach them to have integrity and help other people, right? Instead of being like stingy with your information or with your money. Because sometimes I'm like, man, I wish when I was growing up or in college, someone sat me down and was like, Genesis, focus. Like, focus.
They're so innocent. Like, my son Zay, he said he wants to be very successful so that he can give money to all the homeless.
Wow. And that's a good heart right there, right?
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, you do that. And I don't want to... you got to be careful what you say. Like, right. It's like, it can be so, it can have an impact.
Right, exactly.
You shut him down right now, then why even try? Like,
exactly.
So Dad didn't approve.
Yeah.
But I also want them to have their own, like, your own drive. Like, even if I say no, if something deep down you want, go get it. Fuck right. What I say.
Right.
What matters is you're happy with your choice.
Exactly.
And not influenced by others.
Exactly.
Like, a lot of times you don't even know who the fuck you are. Like, this phase happened, like, for me, like, high school, maybe you're trying to figure out who you are. You jump on this scene, then that scene, and at the end you're like, am I really into this, or was I influenced to be into this? Like, sometimes you gotta ask those hard questions and just move forward from that. Like,
I definitely think 100% we're a product of our environment. 100%. Your associations are so important. So important.
And your thoughts.
Yeah.
And your journals.
Exactly. Like you said, it's just every day. Every day you have to work towards it. It's like a never-ending assignment to make sure you're good.
So were there any, if you don't mind sharing, or if it's off limits, then let me know. What led you to being this passionate about this? Were there any hardships growing up that kind of drove you to be like, man, when I grow up, I want to be set?
Yeah.
Like, or is there anything that inspired you?
Of course, I feel like, first of all, I had some health issues when I was really little. I just shared that on my Instagram. I don't think I had publicly shared it, but I actually used to have epilepsy seizures when I was very little. So, didn't really know if I was going to make it to this age, wasn't really certain. Right? I was probably like 5 years old when that would happen to me. And I feel like, I was involved in church. I went to a youth group for many years when I was little, since middle school up until when I left to college. And I always knew I wanted to, once again, serve my community, be a voice for my community. And growing up, when I was younger, my dad would kind of do like over the road, and sometimes he wouldn't come home. And when he would come home, he would always bring me a gift, and I'd be like, I want my dad to be here, and I would miss him.
Are you the only child?
No, actually, I'm the middle of 5.
Okay.
Yeah. It's a lot of us. But, my dad's always been the breadwinner of our home. And I would see him do that. And I'd be like, yeah, my dad's a business owner. And then I would think, like, he works so much, though. And then when I finally got introduced once again to the cash flow quadrant, that's when I said, my dad's still trading time for money. Yes, he's a business owner. Yes, he's making a lot of money, but he still has to physically
be there,
trade his time for money. And I feel like when all of that clicked, I was like, I knew I wasn't crazy. I knew I've always had these thoughts, and now they make sense, right? And my whole family is just super hardworking. All of my siblings, thank God we've all, been able to follow our dreams and, be successful, right? Everyone has different opinions on success, right? We're all healthy, we're all happy, we're all together. So to me, that's successful, right? And once again, I just always knew I wanted to do more. And I think through college, we all go through that, like, am I really like this? Or am I being influenced, especially in high school? It was a tough decision for me to go to Humboldt State because it's 12 hours away from where I live. So I didn't move out of state, but almost basically, right? So, growing up, like, I wasn't even sure if I was going to college, but because of my friends at the time, they were going to college. Once again, associations. So I said, I don't know what I want to do, but if they're applying, I'm going to apply too. And then I ended up going my own way. And, I got to experience a lot of things. I've always, once again, as you can tell, I love to talk. So I feel like I would talk to a lot of teachers at school and, just try to pick at people's brains. And, I feel like I used to have doubts a lot when I was little as a kid. Like, even though I loved to dance and talk and always be, like, funny, like, in my head, I was always doubting myself as a child. Like, I remember being, like, literally elementary and being like, oh, like, I don't know why I'm doing this. Or, like, I remember this probably had happened to a lot of people. Like, the teacher would ask a question in my head, I would say the answer, and I'm like, no, it's probably wrong. And I was always right. But I was shy. You hate that feeling? Like, say it.
I should have done that.
And I'm like, man. And I feel like I was tired of living in regret. I was tired of living in doubt at one point. You know, I went through, not that I really want to get into this, but I went through like a really big breakup in college, and, you know, I was dating a person throughout college. And I feel like that's when my cousin reached out to me and said, Prima, read the 4 Agreements. I feel like I really changed who I am. And started molding who I want to become my senior year of college. So I went through my fair share of stuff. Everyone has their own struggles. Luckily, I feel like I've always been blessed. I didn't really go through anything insane, but everyone has their own story. Everyone.
Yeah, this proves it that people think you had to have this horrible trauma growing up or a fucked up childhood to, like, success is like a desire that anyone can have, whether you grew up poor or whether your parents provided, and it's a mindset.
It really is. Oh man, yeah, it really is.
I always ask that because sometimes those stories inspire others that have been through that as well. But this is not an exception to the fact that success comes from the person's
mindset. And if anything, I feel like it's not a big deal, but to me it was a lot growing up, right? Like, being that Latina that left home to go to college, right? Constantly people were asking me what I was going to do, or was I going to retire my parents? And at the time I'm like, I don't even know what I'm studying. I don't even know this and this and that. So putting up that front all the time. And now I can say, yes, I'm working towards, retiring my parents and whatnot. But a lot of the times, like you said, people think they have to have a tragic story in order to use it for success. But no, everyone has their own story. Luckily, my parents worked so hard that I don't really have any traumatizing memories.
It sounds like you could have steered the other way and been entitled and not have this desire. Like, everything's just, you're always good. You're set. Like,
and that's...
Daddy takes care of me. I'm good. I don't need to. I'm the princess. I gotta,
Yeah, and that's being comfortable and, like... I feel like my dad's always put that in my head, like, don't be content. Always do more. Always do more. Like, there's always better. There's always better.
Like, literally out of nowhere, like, just tell you that? Or in what occasion would these talks come into play?
I feel like ever since I was little, honestly, I love my dad so much. I feel like my dad has such a strong mindset till this day. Like, for example, one of my early memories that maybe I can tell you, like, middle school, I was in drill team, So he would really support me in that. Or whatever, like, I talk to my parents a lot. They're my best friends. So I come home and I tell them every day what's happening. Or in high school, I wrestled. So my dad would always support me. He would be at all my, my matches and stuff like that. And at one point, I was the only girl on my wrestling team. And he'd be like, no, like, pégales, like, do this, do that. So I feel like he's always just encouraged me. Or even when I had my epilepsy, right? There's a picture of me in my living room when I was like 5 or something. And my dad's holding me. And I have all of these patches on me and, like, things to breathe because I was sick. So I look back at pictures and my dad's always like, oh, mi chinita, mi chinita. So I feel like he's always been a very great support. And if I had a
picture like that, I would frame it and look at it every day. Like, I'm a badass. Look where I'm at.
I do have it next to my desk. I need to make it into a bigger picture. But I do. And if anyone here does not have that support, you do not have, that positive environment, I promise you, there's people out there that are like that and want to make, for example, me, right? I want to make new friendships. I want to surround myself with people that want to better themselves, that have a positive mindset, hustler mindset. When I came back from college, I didn't have friends here because I was living 4 years in Northern California. All my friends are, San Diego, San Francisco. So when I came back, I had 0 friends here. And I was like, I want to go out, but I didn't have anyone to go out with. This is me being, transparent. I didn't have anyone to go out with. My mom would be like, oh, no quieres salir? And it would make me so sad because I'd be like, I don't even have friends,
I do, but no one has invited me.
Right? Exactly. And And that was just me hiding in my room. And I was like, I want to have friends. Like, I want girls that are starting their business. I want girls that go on trips and do stuff. But I wasn't doing nothing about it. So this is your wake-up call. You have to do something about it.
You became that girl that wanted what you wanted in a way.
Thank you.
And then that attracted the like-minded ones.
Exactly. So I had to put myself through those uncomfortable situations. You know, I would come home from working my 9 to 5, which would technically be almost 12 hours every day of work. And I would come home really late, tired. Me ponía a escribir. You know, I would start studying for my license when I first started studying for my state license. And luckily less than a year from when I started that, here I am right now. Who would have thought that? If you would have told me when I was still working at my last job as a dispatcher, hey, in a year from now, you're going to be on a podcast, I'd be like, I want to, but like, how is that going to happen, you know?
Is this your first podcast?
It is. So I've done other like pláticas and talks, but not actual like podcasts.
You got lucky number 13.
Thank you.
Episode 13.
I'm not going to forget that. You know, I'm always going to remember this for the rest of my life because you're giving me a platform that I've been working towards wanting to expand, you know?
Why would I not? I mean, I'm blessed that Port Pro gave me a platform. They sponsored the podcast. Right. Like, this would have been out of my garage with, like, horrible equipment probably. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just pay it forward, you know. Now you do that to someone else and on, just, you know.
And that's what you're doing. You know, I love your page. You're constantly putting yourself out there. You're constantly putting the people on, you know. Like, I see people just randomly tag you on videos throughout the day and you repost it on your story, right? You're a platform. You're like the middleman to connect the community together. And I love your page. I feel like I remember the first time I kind of encountered your page and you followed me back. I was like, oh my God, he followed me back. And I was like, I want to meet him.
Now there's a limit. Like, I got to 7,500 that I follow back. And everyone that I follow back, it won't let me.
Really?
Yeah. So then I just started like going through and erasing all the fake Instagram models.
Right.
All these fake graphic designers that want a deposit for artwork, and then you never hear from them, they block you.
What a great problem to have, that you can't follow people back because you have so many on your platform, right? That's a great problem to have.
It's free. Like, why can't I not follow people back? And then I just wish more of them read the Cuatro Acuerdos so that they wouldn't take it personal when you don't follow back. It's not.
Exactly.
We don't.
Oh, man.
You can't just gauge a person by their likes or their amount of followers, you know?
And we have to remember social media is fake in a way, you know?
It is.
Like, it's fake. It's people show you what they want you to see, right?
Even social media is fake, like the whole way it operates.
Right.
It might make you feel that you're special one day just because your shit's trending, and then the next day you ain't shit. Like, so if you put that what was this saying? It said, like, why would I put my worth or value on someone that could change their mind at any given moment?
Yeah, wow.
And that's what really social media is. So, like, one day you lose all your followers, are you gonna be nothing?
Yeah.
So, and I don't know, lately it was bugging me, like, oh, but you have this many followers. Like, it just sounds like, and like, what? So followers gives value of what you're worth? Because I'm the same person with 400 followers in the Juan Morcan account, but no one hits him up because, you know what I mean?
Wow, yeah.
I'm the same person in my personal with 800 followers. Like, so I know all different angles, so I know it's not real. I don't let it get to my head. One video had 11 million views or more.
Wow.
And that's how I went from like 16,000 followers to like 50 something. Because Instagram kept pushing it.
Right.
And then someone might see 57 and they have 20,000 and they feel less. Like, it's not like that. Shit just happens sometimes. You just got to go with the flow. Like,
algorithm. Yeah, I feel like social media is really... I feel like especially during COVID, you know, everyone was home and it just became such a distraction of the real world, you know? Like, we just want to be distracted for a second on what we're doing. But sometimes it gets to people, you know?
Keep it real, because then when you log off, you're going back in the mirror and looking at yourself. And then something about being fake, that shit will haunt you. It'll bug you. Like, for example, like I was trying to create this character, the Juan Morcan, and something deep down feels like, like sometimes you gotta face what you are or what you're not. Like,
right.
Yeah, it's with good intention. I'm trying to be funny, but sometimes you're just not funny, you know?
Yeah.
And I own up to it. Like, I was like, so, and I was looking at the other videos. I was like, man, so do I want to be like a role model or do I want to be a clown? Like,
exactly.
I mean, if I'm not pursuing comedy, like, what am I doing fucking around?
Right.
Right? But one thing I do have is I don't mind trying things. And because I did that, put myself out there and maybe I look like a fool, but I had to do it. Everything I've done is just trial and error. I never would have thought I end up in my own studio.
Right.
I used to have an office. They would pay like $900, and it was like half the size of this.
Wow.
And this is being sponsored, and it's twice the size of it. And I have a job here. Like, I have a strike. I'm a felon. Like, what the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I've made a lot of mistakes. I've been an addict, and I'm not making it about me. But I don't know how we ended up here, but
no, you're good.
it's just to show that life's full of surprises.
Exactly.
So.
And I think you're really good at putting yourself in uncomfortable situations. And by that, I mean putting yourself out of your comfort zone. And I think you're very consistent. And I think you have a very strong mindset. And that's all we need is, I saw something that said, it's not that you're not good, it's you're not consistent with it.
Or it's just that no te la crees. You don't believe it. So you don't believe it and you expect, you know. And sometimes you want people to like you. Like, how do you want them to like you when you don't even like yourself?
Oh, man. That deserves a round of applause. You know, we have to make sure that we're good with ourselves first, because that energy really, like, you really genuinely transmit that energy. Like, you know, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, I'm going to have a good day. Like, sometimes I also say this to myself, I'm going to give out 3 compliments today. I'm going to give 5 compliments today. I love when I go to the store, I'll be like, girl, I love your outfit. I love your hair. And it just, you don't never know what that person is going through. And if that small little thing, you know, or the people that sit down and watch these videos, like, I'm sure there's someone watching this video that's like, I want to come out of that podcast, but they probably haven't even reached out to you. Right? So whoever's watching that and identifies with that, like, just put yourself out there, you know?
Like, I'm open to have people on, man. Like, I don't, you know, you get those vibes sometimes of people that, like I said, they target a certain person because what they could get from them. They're not looking to give value. They just want to use other people for the wrong reasons. So I'm down. I'm not going to look at how many followers you have or none of that shit. Like, we'll come on here and talk. If it's relatable, I'm not going to have the fucking dog whisperer on here. Like, it's not going to make no sense. You know, it's got to be of some value to the demographic, if you could call it that. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So...
And I'm just, like, sitting here thinking, and I feel like all truck drivers already have such a strong mindset. Like, you know, I'm just thinking about everything from dealing with people. That was one of the main things that shocked me when I got into the industry, is the stuff that you deal with when you go to customers, when you go to the port. You have to deal with other people's emotions and egos when all you're trying to do is complete your move, right? Security's in a bad mood. You have to deal with that, right? The person at the window's in a bad mood. You have to deal with that. So I feel like truck drivers already have such a strong mindset of just, like, not letting it get to them and not taking it personal. But it's a matter of applying it to all the areas in your life, right?
Yeah.
But that was definitely one of the things that would surprise me, is I'd be on the phone with the driver and then I would hear this, you know, just craziness, chaos in the background, and I'm like, don't even listen to them. Like, sometimes, not every time, my drivers are going to be like, you're lying. Sometimes when it would be a really long day or bad day or stuck somewhere, I would send them a message and I would try to, you know, I'd be like, hey, remember, if it doesn't affect you for the next 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes dwelling on it. And I used to say that to them sometimes. And some of them would be like, oh, thank you, Uribe, gracias. Like, I did need that. So that's another thing. If something is not going to affect you for the next 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes stressing on it. You know, just let it go. That's the 5-5 rule, you know?
Or the 72-hour rule. Like, you made a fool of yourself, it'll pass, you know? 72 hours later, it's kind of done with. And what about one thing I heard with Elon Musk? He said about, similar to the 5-minute rule, but this is like, convert all the seconds in a 24-hour period into, I don't know how many seconds there are, but
I'm not sure.
All right, well, it's a shitload, right?
Yeah.
So think of it as currency for that day, right?
Ooh.
It's life currency, right? So this is what you do when you let a 10-second altercation fuck up the rest of your day. that's 10 seconds of currency. So you're gonna literally telling me that you're gonna throw the remaining currency of that day away because of the 10 seconds? That's not a good math deal, is it?
No, that's really good. I need to write that down.
You know, I maybe butchered it, but
no,
I think you
get
the point.
I get it. You know? Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it.
10 seconds, cool, whatever. Not worth it.
Yeah.
I got all this left. Have a good day.
Yes.
Karen. So.
And I just read this yesterday too. And I said, live like you're gonna die because you are. And I was like, it's so simple, but if you really think about it, it's like, que Diosito me cuide. I don't know if I'm gonna get home safe after this. Something can happen to me, right? So it's always a matter of
You don't know if I'm a serial killer?
No, stop. Don't say that. It's being recorded.
Allegedly.
Right? But it's like you never know. So don't waste the time you have. Be happy.
I'll just say some random shit sometimes. Oh, man.
No,
it's still better than the one I did yesterday. Like,
it's okay.
If you watch episode 12, you'll know it was an awkward moment in there.
It's okay, though, but you put yourself out there and you're here. Yeah. Not everyone's willing to, you know.
I refuse to remove all the fuck-ups. I'm leaving them on there. Fuck it.
You're being transparent.
You know?
And I promise you, in a couple years or even months, you'll go and look back and there'll be a big difference in the way you run them. Not saying that, you know, there's anything to fix right now, but naturally we improve.
Yeah.
But the only way you can improve is practice.
Do it.
Practice.
Yeah.
People say practice makes perfect. No. Practice makes improvements. Nothing is perfect, you know? So practice makes improvements.
Never stop improving. Mm-hmm. Let me see what's going on with this list. We're working on it. This is a really good chat.
Good. I'm glad. I like this. I love talking, man. I love talking. I love sharing ideas.
Why do you think people fail to plan accordingly for their future?
I think a lot of people overthink and don't like to have uncomfortable conversations. I don't think people like to think about, even if they're like, oh, I don't care. I don't think people like to think about when they're going to die. I just said it. I cried yesterday when I was filling my application because it was making me visualize what I want for my funeral.
You think you can cry right here so we can get some more views?
Man, if I really focus, I will. I cry all the time. Oh, my God. But I just think people overthink it, or they don't put them, if I'm being honest, people don't put themselves first. But that's really necessary. Like, this is an example. Like, no, my kids first. What happens if you're not there for your kids? Who's going to be there for your kids? Like, you really have to put yourself first in a certain... And who's going to create that GoFundMe? Your kids? How do you think they're going to feel instead of, like, mourning and, you know, caring or, like, you know, like, comforting themselves? They have to be like, oh, okay, like, we got to create... Like, not that there's anything wrong with it.
I know.
But the pain of it, you know?
Extra pressure on top of the mourning.
Imagine being like, God forbid, que algo, you know, something happens to any dad. And then they get that call and they're like, oh, actually, X, Y, and Z took care of everything. And I feel like they'd be like... Is it like, you know,
even from the grave, he's watching out.
Exactly. I just feel like I want that feeling for at my funeral when it does happen, for them to be like, man, she was that girl. She made sure to even have the flowers ready, the banda ready. Like, it's more of like a personal, like, I literally get the chills when I think about it. But I think people just don't want to think about death, so they don't plan that out. Or even if it's for their future, like, let's say we're not talking about insurance. Let's say we're talking about just regular planning. People, I feel like, once again, journal. I feel like people aren't really in touch with themselves because sometimes we become a robot. I was a robot a couple years ago. I'd wake up, go to work, go to my lunch for 1 hour, come back, go to work, come home, watch Netflix, go to sleep. Next day, same thing. I wouldn't actually take a moment to think back. Now, sometimes, like, I bet when I go home, I'm going to be thinking about what we were doing right now.
Yeah.
And it's a matter of always reflecting, like, oh, I should have said this. Oh, it's okay, you know? So I feel like people need to be more reflective, more conscious of their thoughts, and just learn from other people's mistakes. That's something my dad's always told me, learn from other people's mistakes. Like, if I have seen multiple families have to make GoFundMe and have to make vendimias, why can't I learn from their not that it's a mistake, but why can't I learn from them and make it a little bit easier for my family? Or... You know, I just feel like it's really a matter of just don't care about what other people think and do what you want to do. Like, I also heard this one time, and it said, for those people out there that are religious, God gives you those thoughts or visions because they're meant for you. If you weren't capable of the visions you're having, you wouldn't have them, right? So if anyone here is thinking, oh, I know I could build an empire and do this, you have those visions because you could do those things if you put enough, effort behind it. Obviously, it takes sacrifice, discipline, consistency, but I think I took that to heart, and I said, if I think of something, it's because I know I could do it.
The thoughts become things.
Exactly. And to answer that question again, why people fail to plan, I think a lot of it is mindset. Like, once you have that awakening of your mind being in control of you, and that literally you can change your thoughts, like, yes, doable. Like, once someone has that awakening, I feel like you can't go back. You can't go back, and like, it's just such a great feeling. I feel like I'm aware of the effects I have on other people. Like, what if I said something mean to you right now, or something like rude that I'm like joking about? Like, you're gonna think about it.
Passive aggressive,
right? Yeah. So we have to be conscious of the way we treat other people as well. Like,
impeccable with your words, huh?
Exactly.
Words are powerful. They're even used in witchcraft, if you believe in that, right? So that's the power of words.
Exactly. And even that 4 Agreement books, it mentions how, like, when you're talking about words, you spell them out, right? It's like a spell, like a witchcraft spell.
Oh, I didn't think of that.
Yeah, so it says that in the book too. So I feel like we've all had those tías o tías, oh, Jenny está subiendo de peso. Like, why do you gotta say those things? Or like, oh, Jenny is so, like, keep comments to yourself. If you want to, literally the golden rule, treat others how you want to be treated, right? And this is another thing I really want to say. So I remember this is a joke I laugh at now, but when I was little, like 10 years old, I remember I used to pray and I say, Diosito, let me find a luggage of $1 million. That's not gonna happen. And I legit used to pray about that every night to bed. I would make my prayer and be like, Diosito, let me find a luggage with money in it, like in the movies. That's not real. When I learned you have to go out and grab what you want, that's when my life changed. No one's gonna give you what you want or what you need. Like, you have to go out for it. So when I learned that, that's when I said, I have to start planning for my own future.
So right? It's not like that easy, like law of attraction. That's what people think it's corny, because they think that, I'm going to get that Ferrari. Yes.
It's a component.
It's you attract, but you got to act.
Oh, yeah, man. And that goes back to social media. Like, yeah, if you go on my social media, yeah, I'm, always very, I try to always be positive. I post my work, but I don't post when I'm up at 1 a.m. submitting policies and applications because I've been working all day. Just because who wants to see that, I don't post when I've been working 7 days a week, getting 5-6 hours of sleep. Maybe that's normal for some people, but I'm still transitioning and sleeping less hours. I don't post when I'm like having some doubts and I have to like really like slap that out of me, and just not physically, but, put myself in place and be like, no, just stop, so we're all humans. I just think, once again, it's an everyday thing. Every day I work on myself. Every day I work on my self-care, my self-love, my mindset. Like, I'm not going to tell you there's days I'm not, like, sad or negative. Like, yes, but it's a matter of, like, stopping yourself. Recognize it. It's okay to feel that way, but get yourself out of that mud, right? And don't allow it, like you said. Don't trade the rest of your whole day for one bad thought or negative or situation that happened to you. So...
Yesterday I didn't have a guest, but I showed up anyways and said I'm gonna get a guest.
Ooh, I'm so glad you said that, because I was watching it
and he came.
You said something that I want to really congratulate you on.
Yeah, what was it?
You said that no matter what happened, you told yourself that you would always have 3 podcasts. Yeah? Like in a week? Is that a week?
Yeah.
I saw that and I was like, man, I got to tell him. Thank you for bringing it up, because I was going to forget.
Yeah.
First of all, congratulations, because that's you setting a plan, being consistent with it, keeping yourself accountable. You made it happen. So congratulations, right? Because that's also something else I heard from Ed Milet. He said, it's the small promises we make to ourselves that really make us who we are. So for example, let's say I'm going to wake up at 5 a.m. and work out, and then I don't. Unconsciously, I'm like, damn, I didn't do it. Can I trust myself? No. So keep those small promises to yourself. So I bet you felt really good when that guest came in yesterday and you did it.
I'm almost completing my goal. So I had to do 2 sessions today. Okay. I'm having another podcast at 7.
Nice.
With Tam from Sydney, Australia.
Nice. Oh yeah, you did mention that.
So tune into that one. So
I will.
If you're into that, because every now and then I want to bring in, like, we love trucking, we love the supply chain, we love all this, but I want to, also when I interview people, I want to see them as not like a number or like, right. or you're a CDL holder. I want to see them also as, like, we all have lives outside of our careers. Right. So I want a little bit of everything. Right. But every now and then we'll switch it up. And like Tam is not into, she's not a trucker. She's not into supply chain. She worked in at an airline before, Okay. So, but still, she has something that I want to share with people. And I hope I think it'll be great. Good. So, well, long story short, that's my number 3 of the week. Okay. But we made it happen.
You made it happen. No excuses. You could have easily been like, oh.
And if I wouldn't have got a 3rd, I would have done one by myself. Maybe like a recap of, so the thing is just get it done. Because then that's going to make me feel good. And then next week I keep going. But then it's like working out. I'm not good at working out, obviously. But, I noticed that trend and I want to stop that. It's easy to stop and not, you be going hard every day. You take that day off. It's like do whatever you can to not lose the momentum. And I've done that with exercising where you're on a roll. I noticed that you take that week off, you ain't coming back. So I'll get back on that shortly, but I noticed that, and that's why I couldn't let it happen with this.
The fact that you're conscious about it, I keep saying, you guys are gonna hear me say the word conscious, because it's just a matter of being conscious of what you do. And what you said right now. It's easy for anyone to make a decision. Anyone can make a decision, but not everyone can maintain a decision. So that goes back to always going to the gym or making sure you do your 3 podcasts. So you're maintaining the decision you made. Anyone can be like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, but are they gonna follow through? Are they going to keep themselves accountable when it's not working out like you did yesterday? You made it happen, right? So that's something you should be very proud of, because it's the little things we do that add up, right?
It's deciding. Deciding is what sets it in motion. Deciding is the easy part. And a lot of times we cheat ourselves. We don't decide because deep down we know we're scared of what that comes with.
I like that. Deciding is the easy part. Yep.
Yeah, because deep down you're scared of the challenge. So if you feel you didn't decide on it, you feel like you didn't fail because, well, it's like one of those scenarios. Well, I didn't fail because I didn't choose it. So if I don't do it, I can't fail. You can't fire me because I quit. Like one of those scenarios. Yeah. But deep down, you know you want it. Yeah. And that's going to bug the shit out of you until you do it. So.
My elder brother told me something once that at first, when he first told me, I was like, but then I was like, wait, he's right. And he said, once you admit to yourself that everything that happens to us in life is our own fault, that's when you really take control of your life, right? So it's a lot of work, man. It's a lot. People are like, oh, how are you positive, or how are you doing this? It's a lot of work. Every day I have to remind myself of the 4 agreements, right? I still get upset. I still get mad. It's a matter of controlling those things, not taking it personal, right? Working on myself, working on my thoughts, maintaining my decisions, keeping myself accountable.
The circle. There's energy vampires out there.
Exactly. Oh, man.
Sometimes you're like, And that's when you realize you're kind of going on another level. That's when you realize your growth. Yeah. When you can't relate with some people, but you still wish them well, but you just, I want you to eat too, but just not with me.
Right. Some people have literally been like, you're too happy.
What's wrong with that?
And I'm like, how is that?
Yeah.
How is that, And then
they're too unhappy, so that amplifies their darkness. Your light shines on their darkness, and they notice how fucked up they are at the moment, maybe.
Yeah. And it goes back to not taking it personal, At first, I'd be like, damn, why did she tell me that? And now I'm like, you know what? God bless you. I'm going to do a little prayer for you. I hope you come to peace with yourself and heal whatever you're going through, because obviously it's starting to bleed out into other people around you, so. But I think everyone has their time if they want to. I believe in divine timing, and I think, You know, they say that if something is making you like let's say life is making you wait for something, it might be because it's preparing you for it, you know? So we've all seen those memes of like the mining pictures where a person gives up and he was like one hammer away from the gold, right? Or something like that. Yeah. So I constantly think about that. I'm just like, okay, Genesis, don't give up. Don't give up. You've been planting seeds for so long. Like when you plant a tree, it doesn't grow in one day. Some takes years for them to grow massively, right?
Even a baby, it takes 9 months no matter what. You can impregnate 9 women and have it in 1 month.
Exactly.
Everything is time. Good things take time.
Exactly. It's a matter of being patient, you know?
Yeah. And you're being very patient with me with all these questions.
What do you mean? No, dude, I love to talk, man. I love this. I'm having such a great time. And I hope, you know.
Since you love to talk, would you talk some more about... You have any tips for independent contractors with no benefits out here?
Okay.
Or
yeah, I think first thing is reach out to any financial professional. You know, if you already know someone, you know, reach out to them. If not, to me, you know. You know, and I'll be honest with these people, you know, because there's certain things you have to hear. But if anything, I would say, you know, take this serious. You know, we're not saying all of this for no reason. Take it serious. Really, like, put a timer if you want. Put 5-minute timer right now on your phone. Pause this. Put 5-minute timer. What do you have planned for your family in future if something happens to you? You know, or like, what do you have? Like, do you think of your, not to get dark, but what do you think? Have you thought of your own funeral? Do you want banda like I do? Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried? If you don't know those, how is your family, spouse, or kid supposed to know that? Think about that. If you don't know, how are they supposed to know, right? Or what do you have saved for your retirement? You work every day. I'm looking at BNSF. You're spending hours at BNSF, right? You're spending hours at TTI, PCT, right? Well, PCT is a little bit faster, so let's not say PCT, right? TTI, you're there for hours. You're earning your money. You're working so hard. Are you setting any aside for yourself first? Are you paying yourself first? So I think any advice I can give anyone, because we've said a lot of good gems this whole time, is just stop for a second and think about it. Are you prepared? Are you planning for your future? Right?
What would happen literally if you drop dead today?
If I drop dead today,
no, tell them.
Oh, tell them. Yeah.
Well, you could share it.
I was like, well, I have my, you know, I have my policies. But exactly, I have my policies. So you see how you asked that question, and my mind immediately went to, I have my policies, right? Because that makes me feel good. If I pass, you know, I didn't think, oh, I'm gonna be sad. I thought I have policies.
They're good.
My family's good. Yeah, but exactly. What happens if you go out right now, you go take the trash can outside, someone runs you over? You know? Like, what's going to happen to your family? What's going to happen to your kids? And let's say you don't have kids. What's going to happen to your mom? Someone's going to have to bury you. Someone's going to have to take care of it, right? So why not, you know, prepare for your future? And not only is it for, you know, death benefit, not only is it for your funeral, you can create generational wealth, like I said. That's just getting too much into detail. I would love, if anyone is interested, I would love to break down how that works. But you're actually able to invest within these tools, right? There's so much out there. You're already working so hard. Why not make your money work for you, you know? Like, that's the thing that I'm just like, man.
Yeah,
like,
that's all. Is, you know, all that is hidden behind the knowledge.
Exactly.
So you're definitely gonna empower a lot of people, and I'm sure like a lot of families will be blessed with this.
Good, I hope so. You know,
it's a tough subject, but it's unavoidable. So why not make it as gentle? What word do I use? Just the process. You know,
just make it.
You already got to deal with the loss. Like, why the additional?
Who wants to call the funeral home and be like, what day can we go? What hour? That's the last thing you're thinking about, you know? But just being protected honestly makes me feel so good. And I'm not just saying it just because I have my business with this, but even if I didn't have my business, just being covered and just, you literally never know. Short little story. We just had a training about 3 weeks ago, And one of my teammates, rest in peace, he was called on to help role play with a training we were having that day. He passed away last week. And he had just signed his policy that day because he was role playing with one of our teammates, and we were practicing, how to present this and whatnot. And then he was like, "Hey, this is actually really good. I don't have it." And then he goes, "Hey, why don't you finish your application right now or after this training because you already saw the value of it?" And he's like, "You know what? Let me do it." He was 44. He woke up, tripped off his bed, se pegó en la cabeza, and he died.
He never woke up?
He died. And just 2 weeks ago, he had signed his policy. So he only made one payment of whatever amount, small amount, and his family got the thousands of dollars. Only one. You never know. Just 2 weeks. This is last week. 2 of our teammates passed away. Him with an accident, and then he was 44, and then another younger teammate, he was 22 in a car accident, and he also had his policy. So
how did that guy feel? The one that kind of persuaded him to do it right away.
Oh man, yeah, he talked about it, and he's like, I have the chills. I feel like it was, like out of like everyone, how did I pick him?
Feeling of what you're doing out there.
Yes, we literally like we were like kind of in shock. We all kind of like shed a tear. We were like, "Yo, he was just up here 2 weeks ago, super excited. Like we're having a very big convention next month." Tim Grover, if anyone knows Tim Grover, right? So he's going to be at the convention. So he was a mental trainer for Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan. So we're constantly learning about self-development. This young, this gentleman, rest in peace, who passed away, he lived in Hawaii. He was saying, "I already have my ticket to go to California. My family's ready to fly out with me." He was super enthusiastic. And for literally tripping, he died off the bed. He literally woke up to start his day. Like my mom would say, todo patarato, maybe, trying to get up early, do some stuff. Literally probably hit his head on a counter or something and passed away. So you never know how... Sorry, I hit the mic.
You're good.
You never know.
You never know when they're going to hit the
mic. It's just like, man, and those things just kind of like... Hear that story, man. Like, what if not that I want to put this energy out, but it's like, what if something happens to you in your truck? Is anyone going to even know? Like... People be sleeping in their truck, and stuff like that. Like, you have to just think about it. Like, if you haven't gotten tired of me saying it enough already this time, like this hour, like, think about it. You
can always block her on social media.
Please don't. I'm nice, I promise. But it's just a good intention. And I honestly do feel like I've become an advocate on thinking ahead, having those uncomfortable conversations, to avoid uncomfortable situations. We've all heard in our family, que se murió la abuelita, abuelito, y no le dejaron la casa a nadie. Oh, it's my house. No, it's my house. Like, even stuff like that, you know?
You get those scenarios. El terreno de quién?
Families literally fall apart fighting over a piece of land. That just wasn't,
Yeah.
It's hard.
Assigned. Yeah.
It's hard,
Well, there you go, guys.
Think about it, you guys, because it's something necessary,
Well, it sounds like you found your path and this is your thing. So what tips or advice would you give to any person out there, any Latinas out there maybe going through something and they feel like they don't know their purpose or what they're going to do, Any motivational words for them?
Oh, man, that's what I'm all about. So thank you for that question. I think if anything, like I said, if you already have a vision, like if you're lost, but you, in the back of your head, you know what you want to do, right? Like when I was going through it, I always knew, like, first of all, I've had such a passion for public speaking. Like one day you guys will see me talking on a big stage. Like one day you guys will see me, I don't know. That's just my vision, right? So I want to use my word, for power and empower people. So if you're lost and don't have a vision at all, start getting yourself into new environments, right? Putting yourself out there, try new things. Don't be scared to try a new opportunity. Like they say, opportunity is there for those who show up. So this is your awakening. If you spend all day in your room, like locked in your room, not even on like talking to people, how is that going to change? And I say that out of experience because I did that at one point. So if I have to give someone, another lady or male, it doesn't matter because once again, stereotypes on just girls being emotional and journaling. No, boys, girls, whatever you identify as, you know, anything. Like, if you're lost right now, like, I highly recommend you start journaling. I actually record myself. This is kind of funny. I don't really tell people this, but I record, like, whenever I'm really sad or happy, I record myself on my laptop, and then I go back and I look at the videos, and then I gain motivation from that. Like, there's videos of me during COVID crying because I was stressing out. I didn't know what to do, right? So if anything, start journaling how you feel, right? Speak on what you want. Like, really think about it. Really think about it. So I also heard this. If you put goals without dates, if you write down goals with no dates, it's just a wish. You have to set goals and dates with it, right? Be like, you know, within the next year, I'm going to do this. By December 15, 2026, I'm going to have this much. So you have to be specific with what you want. You need to have clarity with what you want in life. Clarity leads to performance. Once again, clarity leads to performance. So be clear with what you want. Try new things out. You know, go to like the park. Go to Starbucks. Talk to people. Like, you know, do little things to put yourself out there. You never know who else is feeling that way too around you. So I think if I had to, you know, just believe in yourself and bet on yourself. You know, I feel like I was really going through that at my last job, putting in a lot of hours, and I was being told, like, Genesis, you know, we love the way you work. And it was a specific person that I worked with, and they told me, if you put your head down for the next 10 years, you'll be the vice president. And at the time, I was like, oh, I'm so glad they see me that way. But then I was like, 10 years? Do I really want to put my head down for 10 years? Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I was like, hold on, sir. That's a little bit disrespectful. Like, why do I have to wait 10 years to be where you are right now if you already see the potential in me? Just because that's the way the corporate system works? So if anyone is telling you guys you have to put your head down on something you don't like, do what you want to do. Yeah. Bet on yourself.
If you don't put your time frame, someone else will put it for you.
Exactly. So when I was told that, I was like, you know what? El señor ya estaba mayor, had experience, you know, he was wise. But I was like, you know what? You can't take it, like, what did they say? Like, take everything with a grain of salt, right? So I heard what he said, I analyzed it, and I said, okay, obviously this man sees potential in me in business, but I don't want to wait 10 years. So what do I do with that information? So that, you know, like,
just validated that you got it.
Right, right. And then another advice I can give anyone that wants to do something is focus on your abilities now. Like, don't try to be someone else, right? Like, first of all, I've always talked a lot. And before it was like a problem. All of my report cards would say talks too much in class. Look at me right now. I'm talking way too much. But, you know, it's something good.
Yeah, you're channeling it into self-improvement and empowerment.
So and let's say you don't talk a lot, that's fine. You don't have to talk a lot to be successful. So whatever strength you have now, learn how to channel it into something. It took me 25 years to figure out how to make talking a lot work for me. So I'm not saying just listening to this talk and then
where do I sign, man?
Right? No. But just don't give up on yourself, man. I remember, like, there was a point in my life where I tried to stop talking because people would tell me, you talk a lot.
That's not who you were, though.
No, and I was just like, and I would just be quiet. And I'm like, and I was unhappy with myself. I wasn't happy. And I was like, no, I like to talk a lot. That's the way I connect with people. Like, I'm not going to be quiet. I got to figure it out how. 25 years later, through a pandemic later, you know, through different challenges later, here I am making my voice heard. Wow. Just even saying that right now is like, whoo, you know, like, don't give up on yourself. Focus on your strengths. Like, I used to always hear that. Focus on your strengths and use them. And I didn't even know what my strengths were. So also, if you don't know what your strengths are, it's okay. It will come. You know, just be gentle with yourself. There's already so much happening in this world every day. Don't be hard on yourself, you know, and just don't give up.
If the way you talk to yourself was the way others talk to you, would you be friends with, you know?
Oh, yeah. Honestly, sometimes, like, you know, I have amazing people in my life, but I'm just like, damn, like, I wish I had a twin, you know, that I had with me every single day and was exactly like me, because I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying, you know, I'm not perfect at all, but I try, you know, I try to really think about what I say. You know, sometimes someone says, you know, something kind of mean to me, and And I'm just like, oh. And I'm like, no, Genesis, don't take it personal. They're probably going through something. And then I just like, you know? So, yes, I would be friends with myself. I don't know about in the past because I had a lot of work to do, right? But now I would be. And the reason I say that's because I'm being transparent. Every day I'm working on stuff. I'm not perfect, you know? So now, yes, I would love to be my own friend. Also, ask that to yourself. Would you be your own friend? You know, would you, honestly? Or I've also heard this, would you date yourself? That's a deeper question because dating someone, you get to really know who they are and see them when they're not doing good or feeling good. Like, would you date yourself? Would you be your own friend? If your answer is no, or you don't really know right off the bat, then probably means you have to work on some stuff, you know, and that's okay because we all do. But would you be your own friend?
Maybe, sort of, working on it as well.
Yeah.
Not as well, because it seems you got to figure it out, but I'm working on it.
It's good.
But just the fact that I have the desire to work on it, it gives me hope. There's something there. So.
Of course. And I feel like I have to say something. I don't want anyone to be like, oh, esa se crema mucho. Like, it's because I've worked. I've cried so many times. I've felt like hopeless so many times. I've doubted myself so many times that I finally was like, enough is enough. Like, I know who I am. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to be confident no matter what happens. And I know I have a very strong character. I know I do, right? But I try to use it as the most beneficial way I can to empower other girls, right?
We're stuck with ourselves for the rest of our lives, so let's try to like ourselves.
Exactly.
At least, you know,
exactly.
You're stuck in this body with your thoughts. Why not make them pleasant?
Exactly. And I was also told something and they said, what is one thing you're in full control of? In a way, it's yourself. That goes to what your hair looks like, what you wear, or if you work out, if you don't, what you eat, how you think. So if I know I'm in control of myself, like, why not make it what I want it to be or constantly work on myself? So I think that's another thing. Like, when you're actively working on yourself, I feel like it naturally makes you so much more confident. And I feel like I'm proof of that because I wasn't always, you know. But I feel like because I know I'm constantly working on myself, constantly listening to podcasts that will, you know, better my understanding as a person, I feel so much better about myself because I know I'm doing something for myself, if that makes sense. I hope it makes sense, you know. But for example, when people start going to the gym, even if they're not at their goal yet, they already feel so much better because they know they're working towards their goal, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like that goes with even mindset as well.
Thank you.
Of course.
You guys got all these gems today, huh?
You know, and that's just all through experience because, man, you know, I wish, once again, someone would have sat me down and was like, Genesis, it's all in your head. And I know a lot of times we probably hear that. If you're hearing this right now, you're like, oh, another person just saying mindset. Mm-hmm. It is mindset, I promise you.
Someday they'll get it. And
one day it'll click and you'll remember that girl with the red hair telling you it was mindset, right? I promise you it's just
the
mindset.
girl with the red hair that deep down you wanted red hair and you didn't have the courage to do it.
Do it. A lot of people were telling me, don't dye. I dyed my hair New Year's Eve this year. And people told me, don't dye your hair because, you know, I meet up with a lot of people in person. I do a lot of Zoom calls, you know, professional Zoom calls. I do all of that stuff. So they're like, don't dye your hair red. That's not professional. And me being me, I was like, I'm going to dye my hair red. Like, don't tell me not to do it because I want to, you know? Mm-hmm. Do whatever you want to do. Literally, like, do whatever you want to do. This goes back to the saying YOLO. Literally, you only live once. Like, make the best of it. Do what you want to do. Be happy. Like, go after what you want. Like, you're thinking about something right now while you're hearing this. What you're thinking about, go do it.
They're thinking they want to subscribe, like, and comment.
Yes.
I'm still adapting to that. It sounds so corny. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment.
No, but at the end of the day, it's like, if people didn't like, subscribe, and commented, would I be here right now? Would you be here? Would we have this platform? Like, it's important to support all the, you know, small businesses, big businesses, people we know. Like, I love doing that. Like, whenever people randomly repost one of my posts, I'm like, oh my God. Like, that feels so good. So I love supporting other people as well, you know, like, your time will come and giving to others like you naturally get back stuff, so it's
and
all
it's
about
not
giving.
always from that same person. Like the way you treat others is your karma, the way they treat you is theirs.
Exactly.
It works in very interesting ways. So thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
What was I gonna say? Where those new friends you made out there, where can they reach you? How can they get in contact with you?
Yes. So I'm actually gonna leave. I have a business card right here with my dad, right? So I have this business card here. I'm actually also on Instagram, so there's that. I have my website on my Instagram. So my Instagram is Genesisuribee, double E, so GENESISURIBEE. That's my Instagram. There's a link on my Instagram that has my insurance website, and it has my number. So I wouldn't mind sharing it, I guess. Or if anyone wants, direct information, feel free to reach out, right here to us, and we'll have that information. But I'm on Instagram. I don't really know if I should say my number right now, but
it's up to you. But what I will say this, I'll do. I'm gonna add the information in the description.
So awesome, I'd
try
appreciate
to get that link and all that.
Awesome. Yeah. So I have my website. I stay on Instagram. So feel free to reach out to me. Once again, I speak English, I speak Spanish. I don't even want this to end because I'm having such a good conversation with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm on Instagram.
You could always come on again,
I would love to. Honestly, I've been meaning to come out to.
I'll prepare with more questions because I like to be prepared.
I would love to start going to more, trucking events or whatever's happening. Like if anyone is hosting something, let me know. I would love to go. I think it's really fun.
Yeah,
we'll let me know. Yeah. So if you guys are watching this, like and subscribe, and then show up to what we're gonna do.
That's right.
Get to know each other, socialize. It's a very important thing as humans to interact with others, and it feels very good. So.
And she'll be glad to talk to you at the event.
I will. Don't let me catch you because as you can tell, I love to talk. I'm gonna get you to open up to me. I promise. I think that's one of my powers sometimes. But
great. Thank you so much for coming.
High five.
And that is all, folks. I will catch you on the next one.
Bye-bye. Peace.